Hello and welcome to the Midweek Fix with me, Jamie Home, after Liverpool unfortunately go out of the Champions League at the quarter-final stage after a goalless draw at Anfield tonight. Now, to be honest, it's not always easy doing these shows after disappointing results, but joining me tonight to pick the bones out of the game and give us their reaction is Grizz and Shawnee. Now, before I bring the lads in, quick shout out to our sponsor, footballprizes.co.uk. This week, they have a signed and framed Virgil van Dijk shirt, which I will be entering myself. It's only $5.95 to enter. The offer will end next Wednesday, so go check it out on the link below. Now, Grizz, unfortunately, mate, I'm going to come to you first. I'll be honest, mixed emotions tonight because I would say overall, first half, I thought it was a good performance. But if I'm being honest, whilst we created chances, we limited Madrid to a few, if any, proper chances. I kind of feel like we've seen that game so many times this season in that the story and the narrative off the back of it is that we're wasteful in front of goal. How do you feel about the game?
Yeah, pretty much the same as you, Jamie. Disappointed. I would be disappointed if I really expected us to go through. The fact that I didn't expect us to go through, and I've said it all week. So I'm not as disappointed as maybe some others who really thought we were going to go through tonight. Look, but after watching that first 45 minutes, you think to yourself, we should have. As you said, the could have, should have tone for this season, I suppose. Could have, should have. Just not. Jamie, when you're playing at this level, this is a big boys league. And the first leg showed when you get your chances like Madrid did, because Madrid didn't create more than we did in the first half, like tonight in that first half against us over there in Madrid. The difference was they finished their two chances that they got. Or let's say they got four chances, they finished two of them. Whereas we got 4 or 5 chances and made the keeper work twice, I think it was. And that's the difference at this level. The Mo Salah chance in the first half is a gilt-edged chance. You think Mo Salah finishes that 8 times out of 10. And then it just set the tone. We tried our best. I thought it was a far, far better effort. The effort was there. The tenacity was there. The pressing was there. We won the ball so many times high up. But if you don't finish your chances, Jamie, at this level, you don't deserve to go through, unfortunately.
Now, Shawnee, before we dive into the teams, because there was a few eyebrows raised, particularly on social media, about the starting 11, with a few, albeit surprises to some people. Before we dive into the starting 11, like Grizz, what's your initial reaction to the game?
Disappointment. And even I was thinking to myself, I had very little expectation going into the game tonight, to be honest with you. As I said on Sunday on the Fatback Farm, I kind of got a little bit lashed out before the my expectations were on the floor tonight. So if that had happened, there would have been a bonus. But when you see the way the game played out, that's the disappointing part. Because again, I think tonight they were there for the taking, and we just weren't clinical enough. That belief just seems to be gone. The hunger, the game kind of played in reverse. We started really well, and it just petered out. Normally, when you build yourself into these games at 0-0, you're creating chances by the boatload towards the back end of the game, but just didn't happen to us for us tonight, Jamie. They gave us very little to worry about. I think Benzema hits the post off a mistake. I think you couldn't really look around their side and see too many poor individual performances on overall. But we just weren't clinical enough, Jamie. And to be honest with you, this game was lost in Madrid. It was lost in the first leg. We took the first 45 minutes off over there, and we paid the ultimate price. And you might get away with it with a Porto. You might even get away with it someone like a Dortmund. But you don't get away with it with a squad with the pedigree that Real Madrid have. Even though they're not at their best and they are missing players, they still have killers in that team. And that was the difference. Like Grizz says, they didn't over create too many chances over there. and they just took their chances. And in a game when it's 180 minutes, you obviously pay for it. I don't think we suffered from a lack of fans or anything tonight, because we looked like we are on it from minute one. Just disappointing to kind of peter out. I would have liked him to go out swinging, if anything, but it just fizzled out. And to be honest with you, it's kind of like a season in microcosm, just kind of languishing in fucking purgatory.
Madge Apple makes a good point in the chat, and Grizz, I'll come to you because it's very much around selections. And I think you said something on Twitter, which in terms of the team that started tonight, you felt that this was the team that should have started last week. And as Shawnee says there, we probably did leave ourselves too much to do from last week. There's a lot of questions over the team that was selected to play in Madrid, and it kind of backfired. Going into the game tonight, what did you think when you seen the team come out, particularly around, the likes of no Thiago, Jota didn't get a start? Were you surprised?
Personally, I was very surprised, Jamie. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to beat around the bush and say, no, I kind of expected this, blah, blah, blah. I knew Milner may get a start. But again, I didn't get why he played 90 minutes on Sunday then. Mane, I knew would probably come back in. I don't know. It's difficult to sort of work out the thinking. And my best sort of, I've been trying to work out the thinking since it was selected. And my best theory is that, look, we were trying to keep it tight until half time, in the hope that we may nick a goal, like start really early, like we did, start off really powerfully early, and then settle back. And it kind of, I could see the thinking behind it. Don't get me wrong, Milner was probably one of the best players for us. I don't care what anyone says, setting the tempo. That tackle he put on Benzema in the first couple of minutes. This is exactly what we need. This is my point about this is the team that was supposed to be picked in Madrid. I just thought Jurgen Klopp, in a season of, it's been a poor season for him. I think I get all the controversy and the drama and the tragedies and everything and the injuries, but I just didn't think that team would claw back 2 goals against a Madrid team that was going to sit back all day and all night. I just didn't see the adventure in the lineup. I just didn't see the adventure would be the right word. I didn't see the bravery in that lineup. I thought it was we see how it goes at 60. And, I just thought it's going to be too much to go for in 60. Like I said to you guys in the WhatsApp, I thought that first half, if it was 1-0, but it's fine margins, Jamie. It's fine margins, because we take one of those chances, we go in 1-0 and we say, this is on. This is a master stroke. But as Shawnee says, this ain't Porto. I'd go as far as say this ain't Villa. It was very much like the Villa game. It reminded me of, where we were planning to be sort of up by half time and then sort of turn it on in the second half. You can do that against Villa or whatever, but you can't do it against these teams. You just can't do it.
Before the start of the game, I tweeted something about, I wanted to see us play 4-2-3-1. I thought we'd see Thiago and Fabinho as the 2, and then we'd find a way to get the 4 attackers, close together and creating havoc. I thought Bobby would be good as a link player. I could also, though, see a chain of thought that would see Milner start tonight, Shawnee. Particularly if you look at how toothless we were in Madrid. We didn't lay a glove on them. We let Madrid do whatever they want. And as Grizz said, within the first minute or two, you seen what Milner was there for, which was to get close to them. He went straight through Benzema. But I think the one that really surprised me is Thiago. Is the no Thiago starting. Now, for me, look, I've made no bones about it. I'm a massive Thiago fan. I don't think he has delivered to the levels that we know he can at Liverpool. But surely these are the games that we brought him in to play in, Shawnee. Particularly, I would say he changed the game in the second half. In the first leg, we looked a lot more bright when he came on. Was that a surprise to you that he didn't get the nod tonight?
Yeah, I expected him to be in there, to be honest with you. I thought Genie would have taken the seat out because he just hasn't been up to it. Genie's not been at it. And for whatever reason, contract, minutes in the legs, he hasn't been at it. And you see him tonight going through the motions. He didn't really give us an awful lot. I think, look, I think if Mo takes the chance after 2 minutes, nobody's giving out about Klopp's 11. I think what let Klopp down tonight was probably the substitutions. I think the substitutions made little or no sense to me. Taking Kabak off when he was the better of the two. Now, not that Phillips was bad. I actually thought Phillips has a decent game, but Phillips just gets booked. And then he puts Fabinho back into centre-back and takes Milner off. And I wouldn't have taken Milner off because Milner was still putting out fires and setting the tone around the pitch, whereas Gini was having little or no impact. I don't know what the story is with Gini. It's kind of sad because he's been such a good servant to the club, and it just looks like that, like this season, his Liverpool career is just fizzling out now in front of us, and I think Klopp should probably be taking him out of the team and using him more sparingly in the run-in. Again, subs couldn't make head nor tail of them, putting Fabinho back into centre-back. I didn't get it. If he had seen him more pushed up and still winning the ball up high and just going for it, but that didn't really happen. He was just marshalling the back for the end of the game. Again, though, we can bang on about the 11 selections, formations, all of this, but if you don't take your chances at this level, you don't get anywhere. And that sounds like a Captain Obvious thing to say, but that's what it was. Regardless of what happened in the first leg, if you don't take your chance, and let's be honest, they were largely comfortable. I know people go on about the XG and all that, but they didn't have any standout performance. I thought Militao was decent, blocked a few shots, but I don't know. It's so disappointing because you sit down all day thinking about how many different ways this game is going, but I just didn't see a 0-0 fizzling out, and they'd be delighted with that because it's not what we expected at all.
But that's the thing, exactly what you said there about the last scoreline that you would have predicted would be 0-0, knowing that we needed at least 2 goals to get through. So you'd have thought that we would have been more braver, pushed more players in attack, changed a different formation, not waited until the 65th minute to make the changes. All these things, and it's difficult to try to understand and make sense of Klopp's decisions, his lineup. But yeah, 0-0 is the last result scoreline that you'd expect.
There's a comment that come in from Jason. I'm going to pick it up. He said, Jamie, you're a little obsessed with Thiago. What has he done to merit his place? I think Klopp got team selection spot on. And let's be honest, we should have scored first. Yeah, totally fair. We should have. And as Shawnee and Grizz both alluded to there, if you take your chances, we aren't having these conversations. But going into the game, I think my chain of thought in particular was we've played the 4-3-3. We've pretty much played the same game since December. And it hasn't worked. I think Ginny going into this game looked like he was running in treacle, and that's totally fair because he's been overplayed for the best part of 2 years. And in my personal opinion, I think he's been a little bit safe in possession, and tonight was not a game where we needed safe possession, in my opinion. And TR,
I think
we've been brought to do. So that's where I
think Jamie's Thiago's obsession is getting to him.
Yeah, someone's like,
did you lose me? Did you lose me mid Thiago rant there?
Yeah, exactly. I think Jason done something to your internet. He didn't want to hear your opinion, but we've got you now.
Okay, brilliant.
I know how big of a fan you are of Thiago, Jamie, and I get you, but something different was needed tonight. Like you said, we've been playing the same game since December at Anfield, and bar Villa the weekend, we haven't had any of the results. It comes down to being clinical. Like I said, Salah takes chances. We're repeating ourselves here because there's not a lot else we can say about how the game petered out. People are saying monumental. Abby's saying monumental effort there. I don't agree at all. I think it was piss weak, to be honest with you. In the end, just they had nothing to do. They'll be delighted going home there now tonight.
I think when you look at the game, and I think this is where I get frustrated, Johnny, is first half we did enough to score, and then the second half I think it changed on the Fabinho sub. I think we lost momentum. I don't think we put them under that much pressure. Do we, Grizz, need to start having conversations about the forward line, particularly Sadio Mane, who started bright? I thought, okay, Mane's back. I think he had a couple of chances, or certainly a couple of runs down the wing and drove at them. And that's not been the Mane that we've seen for a long time. But then there was such a drop-off, particularly in the second half. This is where I keep going back to the frustrated part. I feel like we've been watching the same performance. And yes, there were individual players that were excellent tonight, and we'll come on to those a little bit later. But the front three seem to be taking an extra touch. They seem to be moving the ball slower than what they usually would. And ultimately, this seems to be what's costed us, because it wasn't a problem at the back today. We didn't miss any of the centre-backs. And we created opportunities. I think there was one in the first half, Grizz, actually, where we'd created an overload on the right, and Bobby had it centrally, and all he had to do was roll it into Trent, and Trent was 3. And the pass is 5 yards too
behind
short.
him. Yeah.
And it just seems like this has been such a consistent theme. Do we need to have a conversation around the front three?
Most certainly. Absolutely. And this is not a reactionary observation, or I'm not saying it after tonight or even over the 2 legs. People often talked about Madrid being weak at the back, and we've scored 1 goal in 180 minutes against them. I've said it for a little while now. Our attack needs refreshing. Now, that doesn't mean an overhaul. Now, it doesn't mean they're poor players suddenly. That doesn't mean change all of them, sell them all, flog them all. I'm not saying that. But I've said it and I'll say it again. I truly believe we've seen the peak of all 3 of them individually. And that doesn't mean they've sort of fallen off a cliff and they're not coming back. But I don't think they'll reach the levels that they've reached in the last 3 years. And we have to acknowledge and accept that it happens. And that's why Jota was brought in. And that's why we will be in the market for further attackers, because it's plain and obvious to see, Jamie. It doesn't take a scientist to work out that, they're on the wrong side of the trajectory now. Look, Mo missed chances today, but how dare we pick out Mo? I mean, Mo's been our savior time and time again. He's been an absolute soldier for us. And again, he tried his heart out. Mane is trying. Bobby's Bobby's hold-up play was good, but his link-up play was poor again, as you said. Passes behind, taking too long to take shots off. Even Mo getting that first touch. Mo usually is sort of known to take the first touch out of his, into a position where he can strike the second shot. So many times he had to take another second touch to set up for the third touch, which was a shot. And it was just happening everywhere. As I said, Mane, I genuinely don't think I would have selected Mane personally. I genuinely don't. But then again, bring him on as a substitute would never help, because that cameo against Villa was the worst cameo I've seen for in a long, long time. And yeah, Stephen Dunn says, it looks like they've gone stale, guys. It definitely looks. But I guess we will have to give them one more season, a recharge over summer, and then see how it goes. But obviously, we will bring in attack competition, may work. Like Jota, sort of bringing in Jota at the start of the season did give them a boost. But yeah, they do look stale, I'm afraid.
Shawnee Red Steve makes a point. He says, haven't we been having a conversation about the front 3 for 6 months? And I think that's totally valid, because we have. And this is when I keep saying about feeling like we've watched the same game since December. We've spoken in our WhatsApp group at length about, we played games last season and everyone lauded Liverpool for being outstanding. And in large, we were. But there were also a lot of games where we were very poor and we won the game by a moment of brilliance. Is too much being made of, this squad needing to be ripped up? And has this season in part been majority down to poor finishing and not being clinical in the final third? And then as a result of that, it puts more pressure on the back 4, because if you make one mistake, then the game completely changes.
100%. Like, so many of these games hinge on single moments. You can go back to the amount of 50-50 games that we've lost this season. Or you look at Everton away at Goodison. You look at Brighton away. Two last minute decisions go against you, and you're four points down straight away. You've dropped 2 points in each of those games, and that accumulates. But I think it's not, I agree with Grizz, it's not knee-jerk, because it's been a persistent problem, but every single thing that's gone wrong this season is accountable for. And people are going to turn around and say that, making excuses, this, that, and the other. It starts from the back. And it's as simple as that. Championship winning teams are built on defense. It goes across the board for every single sport. You don't win anything with a solid foundation in place. The foundation at the back allows your midfield players and your forward players to do as they do. All right. So we know what happened in October. The spine of the team is completely ripped out. So to expect this Liverpool team to perform at the same levels as it has in previous seasons, when it's actually not operating in the same manner because there's key players missing, because the games are piling up, because we have injuries, because we're losing key players at the wrong time. It was times where we're getting one back and one was going out. Hendo's coming back, Fabinho's out. Fabinho's Matip is back, then Fabinho. So it all adds up and accumulates. And this is where we are, Jamie. We are where we're supposed to be. I remember at Christmas when we were 3 or 4 points off the top thinking, this is mad. We shouldn't be anywhere near here considering the injuries that we've had. The thing is, it's been hard to take because the drop-off didn't happen straight away. We seemed to cope until Christmas. And then the wheels came off. When we hadn't got a Jota there, he was snatching games. Jota was scoring so many game-clinching goals. Little ones here, the one at West Ham, throughout the whole season, and it all adds up. And then you have having to bring Kabak and Phillips in, who have been very good since coming in, but they're not at the level required to win Champions Leagues and push on. And that's what's happening. It's all accountable for. Trent has had COVID. Mane has had COVID. Salah has had COVID. We don't know the residual effect this is having on these players, athletes. They're humans at the end of the day. I think what's wrong with Mane is everything. I think it's a little bit mental, it's a little bit physical, and it's completely infecting his game. Confidence is a massive...
Klopp touched on it, mate. I think Klopp said in an interview today, he said he's got nothing physical wrong with him. And that tells you everything you need to know, where he's basically hinting, look, he's struggling with confidence. He's just not quite at it.
Look, this season has been a snowball effect, and it's completely accountable. Like, if we make fourth this season, it cannot be understated how much of an achievement that would be with what's gone on here. We look at what happened to Madrid last week. Both of our centre-backs are out. Well, now it's a level playing field because we haven't had our centre-backs. We've just become used to this situation. So we don't understand how important Jordan Henderson is to this team till Virgil van Dijk is, until they're gone. And everyone from the outside looking in is just like, well, it's just one injury. No, it's not. It's your 2 centre-backs are gone. So you have to play your 2 centre-mids in centre-back. So you're not only losing what your centre-back's giving you, you're missing what your 2 centre-mids give you. Jota and Thiago, who are brought in to change this system the way Klopp wanted it, are both missing for large parts of the season. So it's completely...
The big line is they were brought in to change, but they've actually had to come in and try and fix. And that's not what they were brought in to do.
Exactly. So it's been, for want of a better term, a clusterfuck of a season. And gone in the wrong way against us. And we just need to relax. It was an off year. I understand we are just getting used to the idea of winning everything, winning new titles, going to Qatar and winning Club World Cups. That can happen. But one thing I will say, we will have players coming back. We will go again next year, but we do need reinforcements. We need serious reinforcement. And so we need, a few players need a jolt. And by a jolt, I mean somebody just in behind them. Look, I'll finish on this because I'm going off on one here. The perfect example is, you asked me who the best signing of the season was in the Premier League this year. I'd probably say Alex Telles. And everyone would go, why the fuck would you say Alex Telles? Because Alex Telles gave Luke Shaw the boot up the hole he needed to click on and be the player that he was supposed to be, because he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. Phenomenal. We have a few players who are just going a little bit stagnant and they need a rocket. And by a rocket, it might be a Jota coming in or a Rafinha coming in on the summer, or a Neto, someone like that. We need rockets. We need fires lit around the squad again, because it's gone a bit dead. It's went a bit dead this year.
Go on, Chris.
I was just going to say he's kind of answered some of the questions that we were posing to each other, or you posed to me, about sort of what was the thinking behind the selection. And when Shawnee sort of broken it down there like he has, you think to yourself, it absolutely is accumulative. Everything, all aspects. You have to take into every aspect at this level. So, and I think Jurgen Klopp has with his selections as well, because let's not, take it for what it is. Let's say how it is. Kabak and Phillips do weaken the team as because those spots are usually taken by Gomez and Van Dijk, who are brilliant one-on-one defenders, who absolutely enable you to play in a totally different way, who absolutely then give the midfielders total different confidence and mindset to go into areas of the pitch where they can be braver and be more expressive on the ball. Therefore, gives the strikers, you see where I'm going with this. So it's all a process. And it's same for the manager and coaches. They automatically think, right, we must keep it safe far. We must protect them more. Whereas they wouldn't look to protect a Virgil or a Joe Gomez. They'd say, right, we're going to fucking take them on one-on-one. The rest of you go and express yourselves. Maybe that's why, the likes of Naby or Knox get more chances if Virgil and Trent, Virgil and Gomez are playing. You get what I mean? The selection becomes different. The selection becomes problematic. The tactics become a bit more, even if it's like one or two levels below sort of attack, it makes a complete difference. How we attacked that Barcelona game even last season, or a couple of seasons ago, we went toe to toe with them. We knew we had Gomez and Virgil at the back, and therefore we could commit in the box. How many times did we commit people in the box? We were just leaving it to the front three to try to get us a goal, and that was the main difference.
And Jamie, another thing as well, what I didn't touch on is all of those problems that we've had with the squad has killed Klopp in another way. We haven't been able to rotate. We haven't been able to give Simicast games because when he's fit, we can't put him in there with a Kabak and a Phillips.
I think he's worried to, Shawnee. I think he's scared to kind of, not scared, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
he hasn't been able to rotate Genie. He hasn't been able to rotate Trent. If you have a Gomez and a Virgil there, when you're playing, say, for example, and I can't even use these shy teams at home at Anfield because we haven't been beating them, but in a good season, you're playing Brighton at home. You can throw Nico Williams in at right back beside Virgil and Gomez. We can't do that. So everyone is at maximum. All of our players are in the red zone before we've even started, because that's the massive disappointment we've been at. And Klopp is not without blame either, because I don't think he's done enough to switch it up and make him. Teams haven't had to think. They know exactly what way we're going to play. Klopp hasn't made anyone second guess. And
Rav Deep says in the comments there, Shawnee, everyone knows how to defend against us.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Show Mo inside or show Mo down the line, can't do anything. It's let Mane have the ball at this stage because he's just shadow of himself. And it's tough. I think Klopp has had a poor season this year. And I'm not turning around saying I want him out or anything like that. He's failed to adapt. I think he's failed to adapt. And his hands have been tied in certain situations by the owners in January. I personally think that they were. And anyone who says otherwise is in the fucking clouds, so to speak. And he just hasn't helped himself with some of the changes. I don't think he's made enough changes either, to be honest with you. And if you end up out of top four, I'm going to put it on Klopp because we should be beating West Brom at home. We should be beating Brighton at home. We should be beating Fulham at home. There's still enough there to do that. I don't care what anyone says.
Stephen Dunn makes the point. He says, nothing personal, lads. You're making great points, but I'm off to get drunk and listen with a clear head tomorrow. Fair point, Stephen. Enjoy the pints, mate. And hopefully the show helps you tomorrow. We'll be doing the same after we've wrapped up. Now, Grizz, I'm going to come to you because there's a couple of points that we raised post-game. And one of them was the effect that these type of results could have on the mentality of this group. Do you think that this could be damaging long-term for this squad? Or do you literally think that it's a case of when you get the likes of, because I say it all the time, you've lost your two biggest leaders in Virgil van Dijk and Jordan Henderson. You've lost Virgil van Dijk, who, yes, is a fantastic defender, but he has the ability to switch the play and drop a ball to either wing. Henderson basically is the glue that pulls the whole side together and sets the tempo. Do you think it's a case of those lads walking back in the dressing room and it gives everybody a lift? Or do you think that the way that this season is panning out could have a lasting effect on some of the players?
It's difficult to make a definitive, Shawnee's favorite word, to make a definitive case for either. But I'd like to think this Liverpool team has the minerals to really not give in, and not let it affect it mentally long term. I absolutely think the sight of Virgil and Gomez and Matip and Henderson, getting back to
It'd lift
fitness.
my mood, mate.
Mate, absolutely.
We could all do with it.
But as we said, look, I genuinely do think it would lift the attackers' mood, lads. I honestly do.
Yeah.
Because you think to yourself, because when you miss a chance, you think to yourself, fuck, I should have put that away.
It's not all on us if they're there, Grizz, basically. It's not all.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So it gives the attackers or the attacking midfielders as well more confidence to express themselves, take more risks. There's so many times that our forwards are not taking risks, and you can see it. Maybe it's by instruction, as I said, because it's affecting Klopp as well, not having the foundation, the solid spine that we used to. Or maybe it's just the players subconsciously thinking, if I lose it here and they break on us, fuck's sake, they're going to rip Phillips. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever, something like that. And it does affect you. I think, just quickly finish off, I think we'll be good to go next season. I've said it, as despondent as we are and frustrated and sad, and there's no panic stations long term at this stage. As long as, and I'm 100% confident we will make the necessary reinforcements refreshing in the summer.
Before I go to the super chat, Shawnee, do you want to jump in there, mate?
Yeah, no, all very valid points on Grays as well. Like the lift that a Verge and a Henda will have back in the team. But one thing that we haven't is system. Like this is a well-oiled machine, and it doesn't work without your key cogs. Henda and Verge are key cogs. You can put anyone really beside Virgil, and you'll make it work. Look, I think Kabak and Virgil could be very good. I thought Kabak was good tonight, to be honest with you. But one thing we haven't touched on is Virgil's distribution makes us a completely different team. It completely changes the landscape of our game. That allows us to be 10 yards forward, not only because of his recovery pace, but because of the diags he pings on either Robbo or Trent's toe. Plays either way. So
was it Arteta that said you can have the best plans in the world, but when a centre-back is pinging 60-yard balls onto someone's foot, your plans go out the window?
Exactly. It completely takes away the opposition's team, the want to press, because like, what's the fucking point of pressing? And then the effect that it'd have on an Alisson who's behind them, who has suffered from there. Now let's be honest, all of these boys have enough credit in the bank. I don't think we should be writing any of them really off. A lot of people have questions about Mane, and I get that. And a lot of people have. I've said in the past I'd sell either of them if it meant getting a Haaland or an Mbappe in. But if we're not getting either of those two, we go again with this lot. They all deserve another chance. And I'm sure to be all chomping.
That's one thing 100% I agree with as well. They would definitely be dying to get back at this and have another tilt at this league and Champions League next season. They will know that this is like Klopp, even Klopp said it. And how often do we hear Klopp say things like this where he said, we all had a chat and said this is a season from hell. I mean, that says everything. He's openly discussed it. He's saying in public that we've discussed it and we know everything's going against us, but let's just keep going. And I think the last 7 games, I think it breeds well for the last 7 games, Jamie and Shawnee. I really think this will make us absolutely determined to win 6, try to win 5, 6 games out of the 7 remaining and really, really give it a push into getting into the Champions League. I don't think it will deflate us for now.
Dean sent us a super chat. Thank you for sending that in, mate. Time for a change. That front three up, that 3 up front, lads. 1 needs to go, if not 2. They're all on massive wages. Can they be backups? And Jay, I'm losing hope on Thiago, mate. The Thiago one keeps rearing its head. I'll be brutally honest. I think He struggled in large spaces. I don't think he covers the ground quick enough. I think, as Shawnee touched on before, I think he's been thrown into a team that is completely unbalanced when he was meant to be the stardust that was meant to be sprinkled on top. So whilst I've had concerns in terms of how he's played, he hasn't even reached close to his level. I'll reserve judgment to when he's back in the side alongside a Jordan Henderson and a Virgil van Dijk. But if we look at the game itself, because particularly in the second half, there was a couple of players that I think deserve a special mention. I'm going to come to you, Shawnee. The first one, and it's a guy who has been under intense scrutiny of late. He's a young lad that's been carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. I thought Trent Alexander-Arnold tonight was exceptional. He was the player that we all know he can be.
Yeah, going both ways, thought he was very good. Even defensively, there was so many one-on-one situations where he dealt with everything fine. His distribution was good. He was brilliant on the ball. His passing, again, lovely to watch. And that's Trent at his very best. And look, he could have easily went hiding after what happened to him last week in Madrid. Because let's be honest with you, it was a Holocaust performance from him over there, and it just wasn't backed up compounded by everything that's going on in the media. And he could have easily went hiding. And we discussed this on Sunday. Trent had a poor 45 minutes against Villa, but he didn't go hiding. He pops up and gets the winner. He turned up tonight, and he did all he could, really, I felt. I didn't think he could have given us more. Whereas the front three, I think, were the ones that really let us down. And another one I thought was really good was Milner. I thought Milner was brilliant. Milner
35 years of age, covering that ground against those players who can keep the ball for fun.
He does what he does. And not only does he cover the ground, he's brilliant with the ball as well. He's so intelligent in everything that he does. And he sets the tone there tonight. He sets the tone. That had all the hallmarks of the Anfield comeback tonight, Jamie, from the first five. First tackle, yeah, smashed in, bang, and we're creating chances. And you can see they're scouring a little bit. But, again, I'm going to give them credit. They managed the game so well. They're like, it's not a pretty side of football, and it's one for the purists, I'd say. That game management is exceptional. Just
one thing I messaged you in the group actually I said about how wide they get in possession, and everyone can keep the ball. They just recycle it and take the sting out of the game, don't they?
Absolutely. You look at we're on top for 15 minutes and then say, all right, we're just going to settle this down here. We don't have to go anywhere. The amount of times where Cruz turns in space, and you can see he sees the long ball is on, but Cruz, just being the veteran, knows we don't have to push this here. I'll hold on to the ball. If we can, we'll take 2 or 3 minutes off the clock every time you get the ball, and that's what they done. It was brilliant by them, to be honest with you. I thought they were very good in the first leg, and I thought they just did what they had to do tonight. Nothing fancy, just look for the smash and grab. They didn't even need the chances because they knew full well we get themselves. Yeah, exactly, and that's what great teams do. And this is a great Real Madrid side. Make no bounds about it. Although they haven't been at their best, they won the league last year. They could well win the league this year, and an awful lot of that squad was the team that won 3 in a row. Militao steps up two games in a row. Excellent, and the difference. Look, it just wasn't to be. We weren't at it, and the way this season went out, we were beaten by the better side tonight, and they will cause anyone who they come up against now problems for the rest of the competition. They're a dark horse.
It's just to quickly add on to that. It's so mad when people talk about the myth of the Anfield crowd, but I tell you what, guys, as Shawnee says, in that first 15, 20 minutes.
Imagine.
You know, that's what hurts, and it makes me even more sad to even think about and contemplate it. But it would have been rocking. It fucking would have been rocking.
Even after the chance was missed. Imagine.
Yeah. That would have lifted the crowd even more, you see.
The challenge.
And that's that sort of 5-10% this Anfield crowd brings to you. And we couldn't raise that in the second half, in my opinion. I think Real Madrid managed the game in the second half really well. I don't think they were able to handle our press in the first half, which makes it a bit more disappointing that why we couldn't do it in the first game, because we did have them harried in that first half. But
do you know what the thing is though, Chris, on the press? That's why the early goal is so key, because you can't sustain that level. There's always going to be a natural drop off, and it's emphasized even more with no crowd, because I think you've seen it in the second half. We dipped, and that's where the crowd comes in and they give you that extra 10%, or it can be something like a tackle that happens that sparks you back into life and gives you that extra push. And we really missed it, I felt, in the second half.
Spot on, but it also coincides then with their better players, like Shawnee said, the likes of Modric and Cruz, knowing that, being experienced enough to know that okay, this is it. They've given it up their best shot. We've been lucky. Now there's no crowd to push them on. Now there's a slight dip in their press, and now we keep the ball. And that's what they've done. And they just literally strangled the life out of us in that last 20, 30 minutes when we normally, or we're renowned to push on. We just couldn't do it against this crack outfit.
Do you know what? I want to come back to you again, Grizz, because I want to just finish on Trent a little bit more, because I've been sick to death of the abuse that lad's got, to be honest. I think it's been absolutely unwarranted. And whilst he hasn't had his best season, and he'll be a little bit disappointed, Shawnee made a point, I think it was on the Fatback 4, the last episode, and he spoke about the bravery of Trent Alexander-Arnold. He always shows up. He keeps trying. He's brave. It was another example tonight when potentially in the second half, you could say that a lot of senior pros maybe didn't show up. They didn't want the ball. He kept driving and driving. And I think that speaks magnitude, huge levels of his maturity, his bravery, and his self-confidence.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I think you may have touched on Trent when I went away, but I thought
glass of milk, was it, mate?
I thought not today. No, I've been fasting, so I had to give myself a little biscuit to keep going the energy. But this kid's 21, 22. Is it 22 now? Yeah, someone says 22. I thought he played like a leader, lads. Honest to God, I thought he played like a leader out there. He tried his best. Absolutely. I thought the Madrid wingers, Vinicius and then Rodrigo, came on in the second half. They tried taking the piss with him a couple of times. They actually, they actually bought into this hype about he can't defend, or he's slow, or he doesn't read danger, where they just tried to tap it past him and take him on the outside. And he was brilliant against them one-on-one. On the ball, his bravery in his passings. When people tell you about his passing stats and not being as high, that's when you ignore them, you block them, you mute them, you move on, because they don't know the fucking game when they're talking about Trent's accuracy, because Trent is one of the most bravest passers of all football you're ever likely to see, especially from a right back. He's a Kevin De Bruyne that's playing a right back in a Klopp system that is designed to get attacks, to get control from his fullbacks. We know this. So, people that even call for him to play in central midfield, maybe another coach has a different idea and strategy. And I'm not disputing that fact that they may think that he plays, he has a career there. But under Jurgen Klopp, there's absolute zero chance he's moved from that right back position. Today, I thought defensively, he was outstanding. You've got to remember he's covering. Look, Phillips again was brilliant. Phillips done his job. He's going to get beaten one-on-one a couple of times because, he's playing at a different level he's used to. But you've got to remember, Trent's not only looking after his position, his role in terms of creating and going forward, but covering defensively as well for Phillips. I thought Trent was magnificent. He was the one player that was magnificent today.
On the move into midfield thing, just to finish off before we come out onto another player that I thought stood out tonight. I remember a story. Now, don't get me wrong, playing at a much lower level, but I played centre midfield my whole life, and then there was rumours of our manager getting the sack. A new manager come in, and he came to me the first training session. He said, "You're not playing centre midfield for me. You're going to play right back." And I looked at him and I thought, I've played centre midfield my whole life. What is this absolute joker on about? He said, "Give me one game and you'll see what I mean." And when I played right back, it was like it was a completely different game, because everything was in front of me, and I could knock a pass. I could find a pass. And what he said to me is, "You're terrible with your back to play." And this is where I think if Trent moved into midfield, when he'd receive the ball, he'd often have his back to play. He'd be pressed. He wouldn't have the game in front of him. And the reason why he is so successful is because his distribution, he can pick anybody out and he's always got an option. He can clip it down the line. I just think you would lose what Trent is if the majority of time he's picking up the ball facing the wrong way. So I don't get the move into midfield. I think you make a great point, Grizz. I think he's playing like Kevin De Bruyne. I think I've seen a stat around average positions. It's pretty much the same in this system. He's picking up identical positions to De Bruyne. So I certainly wouldn't be in a rush. Now, Shawnee, I want to come to you on a player that I thought has got some strange, I don't even know if I would call it criticism, just weird rumblings from some quarters that haven't liked the praise that Phillips has got. And I don't get it. And the reason that I don't get it is this lad should have been playing in the Championship. We're not saying that this guy is going to be the heart of our defence for many years to come. But what we are looking at is, yeah, he has shortcomings at elite level, but the performances that he has been putting in have been fantastic for the level of player that he is. And if nothing else comes from this, yes, he might get a new deal at Liverpool, but he will go on to have a great career elsewhere now off the back of the performances that he's had for Liverpool. And tonight was another example of him putting in a real good effort. Yeah,
this run in the team will be the bedrock for a solid career for a player like Nat Phillips. The rumblings of people just criticising him is just to be different, I think. It's just to say they would have loved him to be able to say, I told you so. Do you know what I mean? Oh, look at how good that Nat Phillips is coming from Stuttgart. But they didn't. They nailed their colours to the mast. Now, when he first came into the team, we were all thinking, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? Matt Phillips starting games for us. But if you actually look individually at each game that he's played for us, he's done very, very little wrong. For a limited player, he's done very little wrong. He's man of the match at home against West Ham. He's man of the match at home against Sheffield United. He's absolutely brilliant away to Brighton. He's good on both legs against Leipzig. He was good tonight, although there is moments where you could just see where he's limited. He's limited. And that's not a slight on the lad. He was never supposed to be playing 90-minute games in quarterfinals of Champions League for Liverpool.
He'd tell you the same. And
the big point, though, Shawnee, is how high is he being asked to play as well? That's the big thing.
And he's doing, look, the ball drops to him tonight. He heads it up in the air. But he traps it, takes it down, turns inside and plays it off. Like, the fella is playing within his ability to the best of his ability. And you can't hold it against the fella if he's playing above his level. You can't turn around and say, well, he's playing above his level. Because he is. And I'd much rather have a team of overperformers than underperformers. And that's why he's been for us. When all is said and done at the end of the season, you couldn't point the finger at Nat Phillips and say, you know what, you caused us. Because he didn't. He's come in, he's done his job to the best of his ability. He's playing alongside a 20-year-old lad who was very raw, who I actually thought was good tonight, Kabak. And he's having to be the most experienced head in the back four. And he's playing on the side of Trent as well, who is notoriously can't defend. So it can't be understated what this fella has been asked to do. He's come in, he's applied himself excellently. And I really, really hope, because I'm being honest with you, I don't think he's of the level acquired, not even maybe as a fourth-choice centre-back. That might sound really harsh. We want to be winning league titles and winning Champions League. He's not the type of player you need. Maybe if you're playing Burnley away and you want to stick him in to battle a Chris Wars or someone like that, we need better. And that's not a slight on him. I'm sure he would have told you himself. If you had said to Nat Phillips' agent in August, look, he's going to probably play 25 to 30 games this season, he would have been laughed out of the gaff. Because he was so close to moving, I'd imagine. So look,
lads, in a season of so many lows, so many sad stories, so many sad cases, so many, just make us sort of our shoulders droop, and you think to yourself, oh, sighing every week, right? This guy is an absolute joyous story. It really is. I couldn't be more happy for the lad. I totally agree with Shawnee. There's I don't think there's many, even top Reds, that will tell you Phillips is the future for us. Oh, let's keep him just on the basis of.
Nobody's saying that.
Yeah, exactly. But Shawnee, to not give him the credit that he deserves is really sad and pathetic. It's not different. You're a prick if you do that. Because that's a slight on you. Because that means you don't understand the game as much as you do. That shows you've got some severe issues with your ego, not this kid, because this kid is having the season of his life. And you got to remember, he's repping your fucking club.
Exactly.
He's representing your club, so you support because you're a supporter. Yeah. And if you're not supporting him, then you're not a Liverpool supporter, technically. Am I right? I think that makes sense. Because if you're not supporting him, what are you fucking doing? Rather, if you're not, look, I'd rather not speak about him than to slate him, if you know what I mean. If you can't say good things about him, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Just because you don't praise a player doesn't mean it has to be criticism.
Yeah.
You can say, like Ronan Keating says, you say it best when you say nothing at all.
Oh, my favourite song. My favourite song.
Nicely done.
Oh, I feel like singing that now.
Both of them. Look, if you ask Jurgen Klopp what characteristics do Liverpool need in a centre back, I'd imagine he's not creating a Nat Phillips in his head, but he's done everything we've asked of him. He couldn't have actually done more. He's performed. I can't remember a game where he goes, he was absolutely shocking today. He had a couple of ropey moments against Newcastle away, but look, if you look at it in isolation, he's been far more solid than these people would have you believe. Oh, because he wins loads of headers. He does what he has to do. He's got clean sheets.
Laura makes a great point here, Shawnee. She says, Nat, and I think I said something similar in comparison to maybe someone that isn't like that, which was Dejan Lovren. Nat also knows his limitations are, and he doesn't try to do things he can't. He plays his game. So whether that is, I want a defender to head the ball away, or I need to kick the ball away, or I don't need to step out and try to be Virgil van Dijk. If I need to clip the ball long, and I can't remember who it was, so apologies, I think it was Dean actually made a comment about his performance at Newcastle, where he was quite poor in possession. And if you look, and you made the point, Shawnee, where he's plucking the ball out of the sky, a dropping ball and then rolling it off, the step up in level whilst having to operate and develop in elite games. This isn't, learning your trade lower down in the leagues. This is learning on the job, where if you make a small mistake, you're punished. So I think one of the things seen on Twitter is, Kabak hasn't had enough praise because Phillips why do we have to create these camps? They've both been excellent. They've both stepped up and done what's been expected of them. There doesn't need to be an either or.
It's because these people wouldn't have praised Phillips 2 years ago on a podcast when they were pretending they were watching someone like Kabak at Stuttgart or Galatasaray. So they have to see these performances as a way of vindicating something that they may or may not have said about a player. For example, Hamadou Sakho, Emre Can. You can go all the way back to, what's your man's name?
Laurie.
Lloris. All of these players, Thiago Lloris. Look, you can be fucking wrong, because you can be absolutely wrong. I'll put my hand up. When I was going, Jesus Christ, we're actually down to a stage now where Nat Phillips is going to be playing. When Nat Phillips starts away to Leeds next Monday, I will have no quarrels, because I know he will not let you down. He'll be a 7 out of 10 minimum. And a 7 out of 10 might not be a fucking world-class performance at his level. He performs to his ability every single time. And that was a great point made, that he understands his flaws, he understands his strengths, and he just plays to them. And it's as simple as that. Don't be minding that. Get off Twitter. Just bin Twitter altogether, because
come to our Discord group. It's way better cracking our Discord group.
They know everything about nothing. That's what they know, everything about nothing. That's how they like to think. Hats off to Nat Phillips, and all the best to him. No matter what happens to him come May, all the best to him.
Yeah, look, regardless of what happens, absolutely, Shawnee, exactly. He may not have a future at Liverpool, but he's definitely got a future now. Does that make sense? He's created an absolute brilliant future for himself, because there's no doubt in my mind someone will pick him up for about £8-9 million now, maybe in the bottom of the Premier League, or maybe somewhere else. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is, he's come in as, what is it, lads, 6th or 7th choice, maybe centre back at Liverpool, and done exactly what we, or Jurgen Klopp, some of us didn't even expect him to do this, lads. And I'm the first one to hold my hands up. You talk about holding your hands up, Shawnee, and admitting you're wrong. Look at me and Kabak. Prime example, lads. I said it from the start. I said, I don't think we're going to keep him. I don't think he's of the required quality at Liverpool. But so far, fingers crossed, touch wood, so far he's proved me wrong. He can be, and I'll still hold my side and say fourth choice, because I think he's probably the best fourth choice out there in Europe in terms of age, prospect, price. And that's a reason why we're going to activate that clause now. But, you're allowed to get things wrong and you're allowed to admit it. Stop being a prick.
We're not experts. It's sooner the better if people stop pretending they are.
Yeah.
Because they're held in that regard. It's at the end of the day, it's one person's opinion. But if someone sat down beside you and started having a go on Nat Phillips because he's getting praise, you think, well, you were a bit of a knobhead, mate. You know what I mean? You don't
Weird behavior.
You don't even have to be. You don't even have to be a romantic. You just have to give the fella his flowers. It's simple as that. Not detract. Just because you're praising him doesn't mean you're detracting from someone else.
From the other else. Exactly.
General rule that we always say: just don't be a prick. Just don't be a prick.
Yeah,
don't be a prick.
And don't hang all your bleeding hopes on one player, because look at what Naby Keita has done to a section of the fan base.
Jesus Christ!
Don't bring it. We're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the podcast, so I don't want to start the Naby debate on this one. There is two questions that I want to finish on, lads, before we wrap up. And the first one is man of the match for tonight, Grizz.
For us, I think we've discussed it. I think for me, Phillips was very, very good. Kabak was decent. I thought Milner was superb, but for me, it's clear. I think Trent, for us, was superb from minute one. He was up against the same attacker that destroyed him in the first leg. So not only did he have to show heart, desire, he had to show an attitude, a mental attitude, a strength of mentality to face up to this forward that destroyed him in the first half and take him on. Because as I said to you, there was a couple of times where Vinicius tried to take the piss out of him, nutmeg him, thought he's playing up against a kid, and I thought Trent handled him absolutely superbly today.
Shawnee?
Yeah, I think you'd have to go with Trent. I think if I'm being balanced and looking at the other team, I thought Militao was brilliant tonight for them.
Yeah. Over the two legs. Over the two legs.
To be honest, yeah.
Oh, he was excellent.
Oh, man, to think we didn't...
Trying to get him out the gap in January. So I thought he was brilliant, but you couldn't really look past Trent. But there was honourable mentions to the two boys at centre-back and Milner as well. I love Milner, and I'll be really sad when Milner goes, because said people will have an issue with people praising the likes of a Milner, the likes of a Lallana, because their sort of influence on a team, it's just not on a 90 minutes.
It goes beyond the football pitch.
It's not on a 90 minutes on a Saturday or Sunday. It's every day. It's setting an example in training, on the training ground, things like that. So I thought Milner was very good tonight, but I thought Trent, considering what happened to him last Tuesday, he stood up. He was good defensively. He was good going forward. Just the chances he created, it would have been a completely different story.
There's a comment there from...
Look, it's not all doom and gloom. Look, we're out in the quarterfinals, but we're starting to see structure. We're starting to see the same 11 players playing, the same back four. We can have a run at these last 7 games, and we can't nick this top 4 spot, because the more I see it, the more I see these run-ins, it's completely achievable. I think 5 wins might even do it, because it's a mad season. It's a mental season. Chelsea be looking at 2 legs now against Real Madrid, which is even what puts them even further into disarray in a way. So, look, let's see what happens. 7 games, 7 cup finals. Let's see what we can make of it.
I just want to quickly make a comment on this Dean's comment about we need a younger Milner, and he makes a great point.
Dean's been on fire tonight, by the way. Thanks for all the comments, Dean. Bang on the money.
I think all our comments are absolutely superb all the time. We've got the most knowledgeable
We're lucky,
families.
aren't we?
Oh, we are. Fucking hell. No Mongols in this group. But he makes a very good point. We're all talking about centre backs and forwards. I think replacing Gini and Milner is going to be so key this summer, lads. Sean has touched on some of the things this Milner brings to the team, and you just can't cater for it. You just can't. You can't place a value on it. Especially when Henderson's not there, he's going to pick him. I mean, how people thought that the likes of Henderson and Milner and Lallana would be the first ones out when a world-class coach came in. And how wrong were they again that they're the last ones out? Like Lallana literally overstayed for 2 years just for his influence sort of on the whole squad. Milner, he's just not letting go and still playing him in quarterfinals of the fucking Champions League. You know, when he's got the likes of Ox, Naby and Thiago on the bench. Do you know what I mean? That's how much he thinks of this fella. And the fella still came in and, as we've discussed, could have easily been one of the man of the match. So trying to find a young Milner is going to be absolute murder, but we've got to do it. We've got to get someone who's going to play the Gini minutes and the Milner minutes.
Basuma for me, by the way, just to throw a curveball in there. I've been massively impressed every single time that I've seen him play. There's a couple of people mention him in the chat. I'd be all over him like a rat.
Hossamoa for me. Big eyes emoji.
Oh, red bell as well going off there. Is that one of them?
The Andy. What do you call it? The siren.
Yeah, the siren. Right, so lads, the last thing I want to finish on just quickly, you kind of touched on it both yourselves. Do you think this sets us up now and gives us a push for top four? And I'll come to you, Shawnee. If you were a betting man, where do you think this puts us? I think Shawnee's froze there, Chris. So I'll come to you, mate. Where do you think this puts us?
What a smile from Shawnee.
I know, what a way to go.
Look, I think I'm not gonna be swayed by emotion yet. I've said it. I think we've left ourselves too much to do. Similarly, like tonight, I thought we left ourselves too much to do. I think we can win. We've got 7. I think we can win 4 out of the 7, in my opinion, 4 or 5. I just think we may fall 1 point, 2 point. It won't be much in it. Hope I'm badly wrong, Jamie, but I think we've left ourselves just a tad too much to do, man. It's going to come back to those 6 games at home where we could have picked up a couple of points. It would have made all the difference, but hope I'm wrong. Is that Shawnee back? No.
He nearly came back with us there, but it's time to wrap up now, Shawnee. Shawnee, if you were a betting man, top 4, where's that put us, mate? Do you think we get it done?
It's hard in the head thing again, isn't it? So I'm thinking, my heart says.
That's why you didn't hear. That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
My heart says yes. My head says no. But I wouldn't put it past us. And to be honest with you, it's something you say all the time. The rest of the league is really not that good. So it's definitely achievable. Like we've got to be on it. We've got to be on it. I hope so. Even if we don't, you know what? It's not the be all and end all either.
Right, on that note, I'm going to a couple of housekeeping things before we wrap up. Just to let you all know, the new website, thank you to anybody who has been sending in articles over the last week. We've had some brilliant ones that have gone up on the site, including one from Stephen Dunn. Stephen Dunn, who actually brought us back some memories about recording in the bunker, which was nice, reminiscing back.
Amazing, absolutely amazing piece. Honestly, if anyone gets a chance to read that. That's an absolute stunning piece by Stephen.
Yeah, it was. And so anybody else that wants to contribute, I'm just going to mute Shawnee there. Anybody else that wants to contribute, please send them in, whether it's an opinion piece, whether it's a story to tell, anything is welcome by us. So send it to lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com and we will get it up on the website. Reminder about the Discord group. If you are, like a lot of us, fed up of the nonsense that is on Twitter, come and get involved in our Discord group. If it's any, it's pretty much just like the comments that we get every week on the show. Top people with good football opinions. No knobheads allowed is the general rule. Subscribers, so you may have seen we are now over 9K. We're fast approaching 10K. Not only will we be giving away a PS5 and FIFA 21 to one of our subscribers when we get to the 10K, Grizz will also be going live on his exercise bike, won't you, mate?
That's a mad look. That's worth it in itself. Sod the PlayStation.
That's the real.
Me doing a fat back 4 on a pedal bike. That is some viewing, lads. I tell you that.
You're not wrong.
That is some viewing.
Finally, shout out to footballprizes.co.uk. If you want to win a signed and framed Virgil van Dijk shirt, go to the website. It's only $5.95 to enter. The offer ends next Wednesday, so go check it out on the link below. Now, that's enough from us. Shawnee's having a few internet issues there, but big thanks to him and Grizz for their time as always. Thank you to everybody in the live chat. Your comments, as always, are very much appreciated and really do make the show. So please do keep them coming with every show. We really do appreciate them. Your support, as always, by all of the lads. Week on week, we're trying to grow. If you can, the podcast, share them, tell your friends. We're really trying to grow a community. So if you can just help us a little bit, spread the word, that would be massively appreciated, as always. Right, with that, they're not always easy doing these, but I feel a little bit better after getting them done. So I hope you have all enjoyed the show. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and we will be back with you next Wednesday on the Midweek Fix. All the best.